One of the things that we have all done is where we start from whiskey and how we get into whiskey and how we grow into whiskey, what we like, what we don't like, some stuff we don't like, and then eventually we grow to like it. And I found it fascinating that, my whiskey journey started a long time ago. I was an exchange student in Scotland, in Glasgow, when I was 19. And I always tell people that I got on an airplane in New Jersey and I wasn't legally allowed to drink. And I got off of an airplane in London and I was. And, admittedly, I was a university student and the student union had 1 pound pints. So most of what I was drinking there was beer, was Guinness, which I'm still a huge fan of. But I got to go to the Bon Accord in very, very early days and try whiskeys from all over Scotland. And it was an amazing night that has stuck with me throughout the decades of trying all these different whiskeys. And, up to that point, I certainly had whiskey before, but it was something I would do in shots. It was probably Jack Daniels or Jim Beam or something. I don't even remember. And I do know that I had one called Claymore Scotch style whiskey, which was, I believe, it was distilled in Baltimore, Maryland, if memory serves. So it wasn't exactly top shelf stuff, and I'm sure it wouldn't even be allowed to be called that nowadays. But at the time, it didn't land on me. It was that night in the Bon Accord where I probably had 6 different drams of different whiskeys from different regions throughout Scotland, all Scottish whiskeys, and it really kind of planted that seed. And I remember, leaving Glasgow a few months later to come back to the States and buying myself a bottle of Glenlivet 12-year-old. And it was so precious to me. I kept it set aside. I was going to save it for some special event. And I think eventually I realized that my 19, 20-year-old self at that point, 20 by then, had no real special events. So I think some friends and I drank it while we were playing poker one night. But and it's funny, I remember I was really impressed by it was the Glenlivet. And I always find that kind of funny. I mean, I don't blame them for doing it. I think it does make them seem premium, but there's, the Glenallachie or the Balvenie. But I think the Glenlivet was the first. The whole history of it is about so many whiskeys called themselves Glenlivet because they were all in the same valley. And that was the agreement they came to, was that they could, only they could use the name, but they were the Glenlivet. They weren't of Glenlivet. And I think it was probably 10 years later I had my first Laphroaig, and I always say that people don't necessarily remember the first whiskey they had, but they always remember the first Laphroaig they had, because I think it's a delightfully divisive whiskey, and I love it. I have 3 bottles of it now. I just went and looked before I did this. I have 3 bottles currently. I always have at least a couple. It's my wife's favorite whiskey, and as things changed, as things grew in the whiskey world, and with me, I'm lucky enough. I live in Los Angeles, which oddly enough has a huge whiskey scene, a great whiskey selection, an opportunity to get great whiskeys at great prices. I'm from Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania is, kind of famously probably the worst state in the country as far as liquor laws are concerned, and as far as the selection and the pricing and everything. And the whiskey travels twice as far from Scotland to get to me here, and I can constantly get more whiskey, more variety of whiskey at better prices than they can there. But I didn't come on here to bash Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania, but it really opened up a huge avenue to me to try new whiskeys over the last, probably 10 years now. Slowly expanding. I really have gotten now. I've pretty ridiculous whiskey collection, and my mood now dictates which whiskey I drink rather than my palate. Some days I want cherried whiskey, some days I want big smoky monster, some days I want both. I've been doing some personal experimenting with some octomores and sort of seeing what the wood influence does to the incredible smokiness of the octomore. I wanted to kind of use this video just to chat about that a little bit, and also to say, if I would encourage people to, I'd love to have a chat via the comments here or whatever about what whiskeys you love. I see Graham Fraser saying hello. Hello, Graham. I'd love to know how you guys got into the whiskeys that you got into. What did you start with one and you stuck with it? Have you tried all the varieties? Have you tried different whiskeys from different parts of the world? Um, I'm just really starting to seriously explore Australian whiskey now, only really because it's just not that easy to get here. And I'm really curious about what's going on there. I know, I've had some really great Japanese whiskeys, but my knowledge of Japanese whiskey is minuscule compared to my knowledge of Scotch or Irish whiskeys. Those are the two that I know the most by far. Um, and I like bourbon. I own some bourbons, it's not really my favorite style of whiskey, and so I haven't really dived as deep into that as I would like to. I've actually gotten really curious recently about American single malts, which I think is a growing thing, and I'm curious about that for sure. I just got 4 bottles of that last week. Um, so you can go by region. One of the things, and I'm going to share a video about this as a complimentary video to this. We made a little video out of some footage we shot with Charles McLean about your first exploring of whiskey, and a great sort of way to break it down, and sort of break it down one from each region, then go into that region, then one from each distillery, and then try the different styles within that, and kind of you can team up with friends to sample a wider group faster and cheaper, by sort of spreading that around. So I would love to hear what people think about different whiskeys and how they got to the whiskeys that are their sort of go-to drinks. And I want to know if you always stick with one region, one style. I certainly know plenty of people who only drink Islay whiskeys, and I also know people who won't drink Islay whiskeys. But I think most of us really like to kind of spread that love around and try. I'm literally moving. I stopped to come do this video. I'm literally moving my liquor cabinet into a bigger space, and constantly while I'm moving these bottles just across the dining room, I stopped and was like, oh, that's been a while since I've had an Edredour. I'll set that aside, which is kind of gumming up the works, to be honest with you, because I need to just put it on the shelf and move on. Hello, Tony Evans. Oh, and yes, Christopher Malloy has asked, how do I watch your movie? I can't find it. Well, I will tell you this. Here the long and short of it is this. Right now, we're doing a lot of different smaller events with whiskey shops and clubs and festivals. In the next week, we're doing events with an Australian distillery, and we're doing one with the Inverary Whiskey Shop in the UK. People can buy tickets to those events. The Inverary Whiskey Shop is selling tasting kits in the UK. So if you're there, you can actually taste along with the movie. And those tickets are available for people who want them. You don't, since no one is going to the store. I'm actually going to put the Inverary Whiskey Shop link up here right now. You don't have to go to the store, so you can really dial in from anywhere. And you can't get the tasting kit anywhere, but you can certainly get tickets to the movie from anywhere. And then in the next week, I hope it'll be next week, we're going to announce a number of events that are going to be publicly available online, that are going to be spread out over the next month and a half or so. So that time is coming. But for right now, we're doing lots of little sort of personal, smaller scale events. But if you just stick with us, or go to wateroflifefilm.com, or follow any of our social media, we will announce the heck out of it starting, I'm hoping, on Monday, but my guess is it'll be Tuesday or Wednesday till we announce it. But I'm kind of realize I'm announcing it right now, but we'll be announcing the specifics then. But it is coming. And then I also will tell you that it is going to wind up on streaming platforms, but I don't know when that will be. The truth is that it's probably not going to be till later in the year. And we will be doing a big announcement of that. And then as we wind up some of these events, we're doing all these events worldwide, but they're all, by worldwide, they're all, everywhere. So anyway, I just wanted to come on here. It's really cool. I see these guys got Craig Ellicky, Springbank. That's really cool. So yeah, anyway, this video will stay after I'm done. So please, anyone who sees it and wants to share more comments, I'd love to hear them. And I'm going to go continue moving my liquor cabinet. So the Craig Ellicky 13, I have a bottle of that, and I really like it. I haven't had one in a while, but maybe I'll go pour one this afternoon once I'm done moving it into the new shelf. So anyway, I hope you all have a good Saturday, and I will talk to everyone soon.